Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off our presentation today. The topic is political parties and political science. We'll explore how political parties shape our governments and society and delve into the field of political science to understand the forces behind political behavior. We'll cover key concepts, historical developments, and the role of parties in democracy. So let's get started and discover the fascinating world of politics together. Let's take a closer look at the topic of reforming political parties. First, we'll explore the comparison between two-party and multi-party systems. It's important to understand how these systems differ and what implications they have for governance and representation. Moving on, we'll examine the different types of party systems that exist around the world. This helps us see the variety of ways countries organize their political landscapes. Then, we'll discuss the challenges that political parties face today, such as maintaining relevance, funding, and adapting to changing voter needs. Specifically, we'll focus on multi-party systems, which often involve many parties competing for power, leading to diverse representation, but also potential instability. Next, we'll consider the core functions of a political party, like mobilizing voters, shaping policies, and providing governance. We'll also look at state parties, those that operate primarily within a single country, and how they differ from national parties that have a broader scope. Gender representation and funding are crucial topics too. Ensuring equal gender participation and fair funding practices are vital for a healthy democracy. We'll then compare the two-party system, common in countries like the United States, with the multi-party system, often seen in many European nations. Understanding these differences helps us grasp how they influence political stability and policymaking. Finally, we'll explore the necessity of political parties, the concept of a one-party system, and the role of political parties in shaping government. This will tie together the overall theme of reforming and strengthening political parties to better serve democratic societies. Let's take a closer look at the structure of political parties. On this slide, we see the hierarchy of party members. At the top, we have the leaders, number 1. These are the key figures who guide the party's direction and make important decisions. Next, we have the active members, who are number 2. These members actively participate in party activities and support the party's initiatives. And at the base, we have the followers, numbered 3. They support the party's ideals and help spread its message. Now, why is this structure important? Because parties are a reflection of the fundamental divisions within society. They represent different parts of the community, and this is what we call partisanship. A party stands for a specific part of society, supports certain policies, and upholds particular interests. It's crucial to understand that a political party isn't just a group of people. It's an organized entity that contests elections, aims to gain power, and works to implement policies that benefit society. The main goal of a party is to promote the collective good, which is why they come together around shared ideas and goals. So, in essence, political parties are about representing different societal interests, organizing support, and working towards governance based on agreed policies. The democracy we see practiced all over the world is called representative democracy. In this system, governance is carried out through people's representatives because it's simply not possible for every citizen to participate directly in every decision. This is where political parties come into play. They are essential because, without them, each candidate would be independent, making it difficult to form a cohesive government. Imagine the current Lok Sabha, which has 543 members. Now, picture a scenario where none of these members can agree on a particular issue. That would lead to chaos, with no clear direction. Independent candidates tend to focus on the specific needs of their own constituencies, which is natural, but they might not always consider the larger national interest. That's why political parties are so important. They bring diverse people together on a common platform, allowing us to address bigger issues that affect the entire country. They help create unity out of diversity and enable us to work towards the nation's overall progress. Let's take a closer look at the functions of a political party. First, one of the main roles is to nominate candidates for public office. This means they select and support individuals who will run for elections, giving voters clear choices. Another key function is to organize and mobilize voters. Parties work to inform the public, encourage participation, and ensure that their supporters turn out to vote on election day. Political parties also help to develop policies and platforms. They shape the issues they stand for, making it easier for voters to understand what a party represents and what they plan to do if elected. Additionally, parties serve to coordinate government activities once they are in power. They help organize legislative agendas, support members in their roles, and ensure that their policies are implemented effectively. Finally, political parties play a vital role in stabilizing the political system by providing structure and continuity. They help manage political conflict and facilitate a healthy debate about the nation's direction. Connecting all these points to our overall theme, you can see how parties are essential for functioning democratic systems. They not only represent different ideas and interests, but also help organize governance in a way that's accessible to the public. Political parties play a crucial role in the electoral process by contesting elections. Essentially, they put forward candidates who will represent their ideas and policies. When it comes to electoral contests, a political party selects or nominates its candidate to run in various constituencies. This means that in each area or district, the party chooses someone they believe has the best chance of winning and effectively representing their interests. This process is vital because it ensures that different parties offer voters a choice, and it helps shape the overall democratic landscape. So, when we talk about contesting elections, think of it as a competitive arena where parties put forward their best candidates to win the trust and votes of the people. This is how democracy functions through this contest of ideas, policies, and leadership. Political parties play a crucial role in shaping our democratic process. They put forward different policies and programs, giving voters a variety of options to choose from. Think of a political party as bringing together a large number of similar opinions and ideas under one umbrella. This helps to organize and channel those opinions into clear policies and programs that can be presented to the public. It's important to understand that the policies and programs put forward by the ruling party are typically expected to be followed by the government. This means that once a party is in power, their outlined policies become the guiding principles for how the government operates. In essence, policies are the specific plans and actions that parties promote, and they reflect what the party aims to achieve if given the opportunity to govern. These policies help voters make informed choices, as they can align their preferences with the party whose policies best match their own ideas and needs. So, in our democratic system, the variety of policies offered by different parties ensures healthy competition and a choice-driven government, ultimately working towards the betterment of society. Political parties play a crucial role when it comes to making laws for our country. You might already know that it is the legislature, which is responsible for passing laws. But what's interesting is how the members of the legislature are often members of political parties. This means that a political party has a direct say in the lawmaking process. When a new law is proposed, it's usually discussed and debated among members, many of whom belong to different political parties. Their opinions and debates can significantly influence the final decision. So, in essence, political parties are key players in shaping the laws that govern our everyday lives. This highlights how interconnected politics and legislation are, and why understanding the role of political parties helps us better grasp how our government functions. Now, let's talk about how governments are formed and how they operate. Political parties come into play here. They are the groups that form and run the government. When a party wins an election, they create the executive body, which is basically the leadership team responsible for running the country. This team is made up of people from the ruling party. Within this executive body, different political leaders are assigned specific roles, known as ministries. These ministries focus on different areas like health, education, defense, and finance. Their job is to implement policies and carry out the tasks necessary for good governance. So, the formation of a government is a process where the political party or coalition that has the majority gains the authority to govern, and then they organize their leadership to effectively manage the country's affairs. This setup ensures that governance is carried out efficiently, with clear responsibilities assigned to different leaders and departments. When a party doesn't secure a majority or isn't part of a majority coalition, they naturally take on the role of opposition. Playing opposition is a crucial part of the political process because it ensures there's a check and balance on those in power. It's about holding the government accountable, scrutinizing decisions, and presenting alternative policies. This role is vital for maintaining a healthy democracy, as it encourages debate and forces the ruling parties to justify their actions. So, even if a party isn't in the lead, their role as opposition keeps the political landscape dynamic and responsive to the needs of the people. This concept ties into our overall theme of how different parties contribute to a balanced and functioning government. Political parties play a significant role in shaping public opinion. They do this by raising and emphasizing certain issues within the legislature, making sure those topics get attention at the governmental level. At the same time, they also work to highlight these issues through the media, reaching the broader public. This dual approach helps frame how people perceive important topics, influencing what they consider to be priorities. It's a key part of understanding how public opinion is formed and how political influence extends beyond just votes. It's about shaping perceptions and debates that resonate throughout society. This process connects directly to the overall theme of how politics and communication work together to influence public attitudes. So, one of the key ways parties maintain their influence is by providing people with access to government machinery and welfare schemes. Essentially, it's about making it easier for ordinary citizens to reach the resources and support they need. Now, why is this so important? Well, because approaching local party leaders often feels simpler and more direct than dealing with government officers, who might be more bureaucratic or distant. This access creates a kind of bridge between the people and government services, reinforcing the party's role as a facilitator. It also helps parties build loyalty and trust within communities, since they're seen as the go-to source for help and support. In the broader context of our discussion, it highlights how parties don't just compete politically. They also serve as a crucial link between citizens and the state's resources. This strategic positioning helps them sustain influence and maintain a strong voter base. Let's take a closer look at the concept of different party systems. When we talk about party systems, we're referring to the way political parties are organized and operate within a country. There are several types, each with its own characteristics and implications for governance. For example, in a one-party system, only one political party dominates, which can lead to stability but also limits political competition. On the other hand, a two-party system features two main parties that compete for power, often leading to clear choices for voters. Then there are multi-party systems, where multiple parties have a significant presence, encouraging broader representation, but sometimes resulting in coalition governments. Understanding these systems helps us see how political power is distributed and how it influences policymaking. It also ties into the overall theme of how different countries manage political representation and stability through their unique party arrangements. In some countries, only one party is allowed to control and run the government. These are called one-party systems. For example, in China, only the Communist Party is allowed to rule. This means that there is no competition between different political parties for power. The government is essentially controlled by a single party, which makes all the major decisions. One-party systems are quite different from democracies, where multiple parties compete and citizens have a say through elections. Understanding these systems helps us see how different countries organize their governments and maintain power. In some countries, power is shared between two main parties, and this setup is what we call a two-party system. You might be surprised to learn that the United States of America and the United Kingdom are prime examples of this type of system. Essentially, in a two-party system, two major parties dominate the political landscape, often alternating in government. This structure can influence how policies are made and how voters choose their representatives. It's a key concept to understand because it shapes the political dynamics in these countries and helps us see how different systems impact governance and democracy overall. Since a multi-party system tends to offer more choices to the voters, it is often considered better than the other party systems. When we say a multi-party system, we mean a situation where several political parties are competing for power, and more than two of these parties have a reasonable chance of winning. This diversity of options can lead to a more representative government, as different interests and viewpoints are included. In India, we actually have a multi-party system, which means voters can choose from a variety of parties, not just two. This setup encourages broader representation and can lead to more coalition governments, making the political process more inclusive and dynamic. Overall, the multi-party system aligns with our theme of a vibrant, participatory democracy, giving voters more meaningful choices and encouraging political pluralism. Now, let's look at the comparison between two-party and multi-party systems. On the one hand, a two-party system, like in the US or the UK, offers voters a simple choice. This simplicity can be very effective for creating stable governance because it's easier to form clear majorities and implement policies. However, one key point to remember is that two-party systems tend to be less flexible. They often have a more or less rigid set of opinions on issues, which can limit responsiveness to changing public attitudes. On the other hand, a multi-party system, such as in India, provides voters with many more choices. This diversity allows the government to be more responsive to shifts in public opinion, adapting more quickly to new issues or concerns. The trade-off, though, is that multi-party systems might face challenges in maintaining stability, as coalitions can be more fragile and complex to manage. So, the main takeaway here is that two-party systems prioritize stability and simplicity, while multi-party systems focus on responsiveness and representing a broader range of views. Both have their strengths and challenges, and understanding these differences helps us see how different countries structure their political landscapes to suit their unique needs. Now, let's move on to understanding what makes a party a recognized national party. Essentially, a party qualifies as a national party if it meets certain key electoral criteria. First, it needs to secure at least 6% of the total votes in either the Lok Sabha elections or in elections held in 4 different states' assemblies. This shows that the party has a significant support base across the country, or at least multiple regions. In addition to that, the party must win at least 4 seats in the Lok Sabha elections. Winning these seats demonstrates that the party is not just popular in terms of votes, but also has a tangible presence in parliament. So these criteria, percentage of votes and number of seats, are the main benchmarks used to recognize a party as a national entity. Recognizing a party as a national party is important because it allows the party to have a special status, which can include certain privileges and recognition at the national level. This concept ties into the overall theme of political diversity and representation in our country. It shows how the electoral system recognizes and promotes parties that have widespread support and influence across different regions. Now, let's talk about what qualifies a party as a state party. Essentially, if a party secures at least 6% of the total votes in a state's legislative assembly election, that's a key threshold. But it's not just about the percentage of votes. The party also needs to win at least 2 seats in the assembly. When both these conditions are met, the party is officially recognized as a state party. This recognition is important because it grants certain privileges and recognition within the political system. It helps distinguish these parties from smaller, less influential groups, and emphasizes their significance within that particular state's political landscape. So, in summary, crossing the 6% vote mark and winning at least 2 seats are the 2 main criteria for a party to be categorized as a state party, tying directly into our overall discussion of party recognition and influence. Now, let's talk about some of the challenges that political parties face today. One of the biggest issues is maintaining unity within the party. With diverse viewpoints and interests, it can be difficult to keep everyone on the same page. This internal division can weaken the party's effectiveness and its ability to present a united front. Another challenge is adapting to changing public expectations and the fast-paced nature of modern politics. Voters today are more informed and have higher demands, which means parties need to be more responsive and transparent. Failing to meet these expectations can lead to a loss of trust and support. Funding is also a critical concern. Campaigns are expensive, and securing sufficient resources often requires extensive fundraising efforts. This can sometimes lead to dependencies on special interest groups, which may influence party policies and priorities. Additionally, parties must navigate the media landscape carefully. With social media and 24/7 news cycles, managing public perception is more complex than ever. A single misstep can quickly escalate and damage the party's reputation. All these challenges highlight how dynamic and demanding political life is. They emphasize the importance of strategic planning, adaptability, and strong leadership to overcome obstacles and stay focused on the party's goals within the larger political landscape. There is a noticeable trend in political parties where power tends to become concentrated in the hands of just one or a few leaders at the top. This often means that internal democracy is lacking, and the decision-making process isn't as open or participatory as it should be. Parties typically do not hold internal elections, which means that leadership positions are not regularly contested or refreshed. As a result, ordinary members, who are the backbone of the party, don't get enough information about what's really happening inside the organization. This lack of transparency and participation can weaken the party's overall health and its connection to the broader democratic process. It's an important point because, for a party to truly represent and serve its members, internal democracy needs to be strengthened. This connects directly to our overall theme of ensuring accountability and inclusiveness in political systems. Now, let's talk about a situation that can really lead to unfair advantages: those who are in leadership positions. When someone holds power, there's often a temptation or tendency to favor people close to them, maybe friends or even family members. This creates a situation known as dynastic successions. Essentially, leadership and influence get passed down within families or close circles, rather than being earned through merit or fairness. This kind of succession can undermine the principles of equality and fairness that are vital for a healthy, just society. It can also stifle opportunity for others who might be more qualified but don't have the right connections. Throughout this presentation, we've been exploring how power dynamics influence fairness and opportunity. Dynastic successions are a clear example of how benefiting insiders can perpetuate inequality and hinder social mobility. It's important to recognize these patterns so we can work towards more transparent and equitable leadership practices. The parties tend to nominate those candidates who have or can raise lots of money. This means that financial resources play a significant role in the candidate selection process. In many cases, having a lot of money can be the deciding factor in getting your name on the ballot. But it's not just about fundraising. Sometimes, parties support candidates who are involved in criminal activities. This highlights how money and influence can sometimes override ethical considerations. When we think about the overall theme of political integrity and fairness, it's troubling to see how money and muscle power can influence who gets nominated and who doesn't. It's a reminder that wealth and power often shape political landscapes in ways that aren't always transparent or fair. In order to offer meaningful choices to the voters, parties must be significantly different. This means that for voters to truly feel like they have options that matter, there needs to be a clear distinction between the parties' platforms, values, and policies. If the parties are too similar, then voters might feel like their choices don't really make a difference, which can lead to disengagement or apathy. So, when parties are significantly different, it provides voters with genuine options that reflect diverse perspectives and priorities. This diversity is essential for a healthy democracy because it encourages debate, innovation, and accountability. It also helps ensure that voters can align their choices with their own beliefs and interests, rather than feeling forced into a binary that doesn't truly represent them. Ultimately, the presence of meaningful choices is a cornerstone of a vibrant democratic process, and it hinges on the parties being distinct enough to offer that variety. Let's talk about some important reforms in our political system. First, there should be a law to regulate the internal affairs of political parties. This helps ensure transparency and proper functioning within the parties themselves. Next, the Election Commission has taken steps to promote fairness. They've ordered political parties to hold their organizational elections regularly and to file their income tax returns. This is all about making parties more accountable. The Supreme Court has also played a crucial role by passing an order to reduce the undue influence of money and criminals in elections. Now, every candidate must file affidavits detailing their property and any criminal cases pending against them. This way, voters get a clearer picture of who they're voting for. Additionally, the Constitution was amended to prevent elected members from switching parties easily. This was necessary because, in the past, many elected representatives would defect just to become ministers or for cash rewards, which undermines the stability of our democratic system. All these measures are part of broader efforts to reform political parties, making them more transparent, accountable, and focused on serving the people. These reforms are essential for strengthening our democracy and ensuring fair elections. So, to strengthen our democracy, I believe there should be state funding of elections. This means that the government should allocate funds to political parties to help cover their election expenses. By doing this, we can reduce the influence of money from private sources and promote fairer competition. Additionally, it's important that political parties are required to allocate a minimum number of tickets to women candidates, about 1/3 of the total tickets. This mandatory quota will help ensure greater gender representation in our elected bodies. Connecting this to our overall goal, these measures can make elections more equitable and transparent, encouraging more diverse participation and creating a more balanced political landscape. Ultimately, these steps are essential for building a healthier, more inclusive democracy.